Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Quest for the Bestest. It's the podcast for Backlot Banter where we review every single Palme d'Or winner. And today we are talking about the 2018 film Shoplifters out of Japan, directed by Hirokazu Koreeda, written by him as well, starring Lily Franky, Sakura, Ando, and Kirin Kiki. Quite a classic Palme d'Or movie. Really sent me spiraling afterwards. I'm not going to lie. Show my hand a little early here. Sad in the extreme. Sad. But we're happy to be talking about it today. I can't wait to get into the finer details of this film and dissect what it means and who might say what about it. I don't really know what you guys are going to say. I only know what I'm going to say, so we're here to figure that all out. But quickly, we got to run through our housekeeping, as we do every time. I'll remind you of what we talked about last time, because it was a quite pleasurable episode. The movie was called Friendly Persuasion. It got a 5.8 out of 10 and ended up at spot number 56 on the list. So not all that great, but we did discuss Gary Cooper's antics for over an hour. If you're interested, go click away and watch that now, and then come back when you're done, and we'll be waiting right here to discuss this Japanese film. Now, quickly, Abram, do you have a comment from the field before we get started and discuss the film? What do they have to say?
We're going to go to the best intentions here.
Oh.
We got a comment from, I'm going to go with Clawstorps for the name of the commenter here.
Sounds like a Pokemon.
It says, it does.
It does, actually.
Fanny and Alexander is a Christmas classic here in Sweden. Nothing like a bit of death, demons, and abuse to get the Christmas feeling to reach new levels. You should definitely check it out. There are some later and comedic moments too. And Shaman is another Bergman classic to take a look at. It is a war movie starring the one and only Max von Sydow.
Well, Clystorps?
I went with Clawstorps, but we'll go with whatever.
Clawstorps, I think Clawstorps slowly but surely. That's a good point, thank you. Clawstorps, I am slowly but surely making my way through the Ingmar Bergman Cinema Criterion box set that I own.
Big thing?
That's the big one. That's the big honker. Fanny and Alexander and Shame are both included in that, so I will be getting to them eventually. I'm still kind of in the early days where the films are good, maybe not, masterpieces as he eventually unlocks. But thanks for the tip off that Fanny and Alexander might be one to watch during the Christmas season. And Shame will be one to watch during, some sort of terrible wartime season, maybe.
And who knows when that's going to happen?
Who knows when that'll be?
I'll say no more. Other than, Tanner, would you do us the great big favor, starting this episode off by describing the plot, maybe the structure, or however you wish to go about it, of the movie Shoplifters?
Sorry, excuse me. I was distracted by a rogue DM from one of the people on this call. I won't divulge who, but anyway. So the film Shoplifters is about the Shibata family, who are an impoverished family who live sort of in the outskirts, in the margins of Tokyo, basically. We have the matriarch, whose name is I'm gonna see if I can get all the names here. So just bear with me here. Hatsue is the older grandmother, who's sort of the matriarch, and the family largely lives off of her deceased husband's pension. And then we have the Osamu and Nobuya, or Nobuyu, who are sort of adults, the mother and father, I guess, in this. I'm trying to work through the accurate descriptors here, because as we come to understand, this family with their two young children are not exactly your standard family. They are sort of stitched together out of necessity and out of care for one another, not necessarily by biological relation. We come to quickly understand, especially at the beginning of the film, the two young children were actually technically abducted from the streets of Tokyo by Osamu and Nobuyo. And we basically see them, going about their daily life, where, yes, they indeed do shoplift things from local stores to survive and also to sell, just to get a little bit extra pocket cash. We see the adults, going about their work life, getting fired and having to deal with the stringent structures of capitalism and restructuring and cuts and everything like that. Until eventually, things roll in a certain direction where the family is broken up by the state, by the government. And I won't say what because I do want to talk about this, but certain things are learned about, the pasts of all of these characters, and where they come from and what brought them together initially. It does kind of turn into something of a twisty turny kind of revealy movie in its third act. I think that tonal shift is really interesting, but that's me giving my thoughts on the movie too early.
And you don't get to go first because I
Okay,
really want to
sorry.
hear from Abram first. Abram, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. Um, I want to just dive right into it. I think the one thing I would say at this point is that I think it's an incredibly involving watch. Not only because I think that there is some extremely beautiful, quiet, intimate moments in the film, but also because I think it's the screenplay is extremely good at dropping these little asides in dialogue that slowly begin to chip away at our understanding of how these characters relate to each other in a very interesting way, to where you kind of watch a lot of the film unsettled because you know that something isn't quite right. And I think it very masterfully reveals what that is and why. And it moves very interestingly from this piece that felt very specifically about class into something a little bit different. And I found it very affecting. I loved it.
I'm gonna hop in because I agree with Abram. I thought this is a very, very good movie. I thought, as I precluded to in earlier, I thought it was very sad, and I'll refine that word to be heartbreaking.
Mm.
I watched it with my own dad here up in the Great White North, and we spent a good 20 minutes afterwards, kind of sobbing together and discussing what
Hmm.
we thought of it. Um, it's not every day that you watch a movie that does that to a fella. And so that
No.
is one of the big things that I appreciate about it. The other big thing that I appreciate is how much this movie really wears what it means on its sleeve. I don't find it to be, I find it
Or
to
on
be a
its
very,
shirts sometimes.
on its shirts too. Yeah, actually, I wasn't really paying attention to that, but now that you say, there's a lot of English words on their shirts that could really, one of them about like freedom and oppressor,
Yes.
whatever.
Mhm.
We'll talk about it. But the thematic material about family, class, and state are like really upfront, and I think they're really easy to understand, which normally on Quest we might deride a film for. But because this one has so much else going on with its found family and the criminal elements, and I think the playing on the heartstrings and the empathy of its viewers, that it really comes across as a broad stroke of success in all these different people and just how much I learned to care for them and to then be distraught at the end of the film and the ways that some of our characters develop and move on and other ones go back to where they started. Is that
Mhm.
a good thing? Is that a bad thing? And I think that the film does a really great job of pulling me along through. It's got a great score. It's got great cinematography. I think the performances are really well done. So, you know, we get downers on this show and we got to deal with them when they come. I will admit, maybe not the best time in my life to be dealing with a really sad movie, but is it revealing and is it good for me down the line? Of course. So, yeah,
It's just good cinema.
it's
That's what
just
we're
good
talking.
cinema.
That's what
And
we're
a
talking
movie
here
is
today.
supposed to make you feel. And
It's
hopefully that
cinematic
goes well. So,
vegetables,
yes.
Timo. It's good for you.
Yep. Tucker, was this movie good for you? What did you think?
Yeah, I think it's excellent. I think that what Shoplifters shows us is such a, and I mean this in the best way possible, such a one-sided uh, perspective into a group of people's lives. We get so close to the day-to-day lives and the interpersonal relationships between a group of 5 or 6 people uh, that it really ingratiates you into the way that they see one another, the way they see themselves, the way that they view their day to day lives. And the reason why this movie is such a unique masterclass in doing that, and why I think that is a positive, because I'm not saying it's one dimensional. I think it could be easily that that not what I'm saying at all, but that we get so close to one perspective on these people that we are ripped away from that and shown how other people would view, how we might view this group of people's situation. It makes you really think about the fact that perspective and our understanding of each other is like it's very hard to divorce yourself from the assumptions you make about other people, from the things that you learn about them taking over your understanding of who they can be as people and their relationships to others. And so, Shoplifters is a fantastic movie. It's got this nice slow clip. You learn about things. It's not intense, but it's this slow burn that ingratiates you into people, and then when you see you kind of understand the stakes of their poverty stricken lives for the entire time, and you're waiting for that shoe to drop. And it does. The third act of the movie, things don't go exactly the same way, but
I was going to use the same phrasing about shoes.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about Shoplifters is that the tension is always there, and you're always wondering when it's going to happen. But the movie, even though these characters are in such a difficult situation, that they don't dwell on it too much. Like it's in their heads a lot, but they're really just trying to have little fun moments with one another and give the kids as good a life as possible and show in little ways and little jokes that they care about one another. And that could easily have been where I think that this is I think I parallel this movie a lot in my mind to Parasite, but I think this is the less cynical of the two, where the characters are more heartfelt to one another. There's a lot of snippiness in the family in Parasite, and I think maybe I was expecting that here. But this is just a very like genuine, like they have like inside jokes and they love each other and they're hugging each other all the time and like it's a really unique vibe and I was totally impressed by it.
Tanner, close us out. What did you think?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I am broadly in agreement with everything that you guys said. So to differentiate my statements a little bit, and I guess I don't know specifically how much experience you guys have with Koreeda's films, but he is, sort of a Cannes Film Festival mainstay and has been for the past 10 plus years there. So it's interesting to finally get around to seeing the one that won him the coveted Palme d'Or. Because I've largely been watching his work that's come out after this. And it's kind of interesting to go back because these are pet themes of his, the sort of found family thing, the feeling out of, what makes a family and what makes familial connection and what demarcates these deeply held connections that we have with a sibling or a parent or somebody else in our lives. And like, how are those bonds forged, basically, and how are they tested? These are some themes that he's explored in, Broker, I think was actually the first film I saw of his. But he's done a couple of films that explore this exact, not this exact, but this type of idea. And I think for me, what Shoplifters accomplishes is striking the kind of perfect balance of his predilection for some bigger, broader, maybe melodrama stuff, and getting into the intimacy of his characters. Monster is another one of his films that I've seen that people really love that film, but I feel it goes perhaps a little too big and maybe that makes the intimacy feel a little bit more muted. Whereas Broker maybe goes the opposite direction. But this is a really fine line that he walks down a path of a damn near perfect film, I would say.
So with that, Tucker, where should we begin here? What are you thinking up to dive in nice and deep right off the start? Maybe is that Jesse or Apollo? Maybe they know something too.
He doesn't know anything.
He doesn't know a goddamn
There's nothing
thing.
going on out there. Let's see. I think that I think I want to start with my biggest takeaway was the thing I was mentioning of this film, even though the ending and the greater context of it, sort of like socially, and the fact that this movie gives you the look into a life of extreme poverty, that gives you quite a bit of like sour thoughts about the world and like the reality of that many people live in this kind of way. I found this movie for the majority of its runtime, despite this sort of this contextual sadness, to be a surprisingly heartfelt and lighthearted movie. And I think that juxtaposition is why this movie is very unique. I think that what we are, Aiden was mentioning these sort of hints that we get, these kind of one-off little side notes of the greater context of these characters and their past, but the movie is drip feeding you those between mostly sequences of in any other context or out of context, let's say, a Japanese family's life of them like being at home and like sharing meals with one another and things like that, and that juxtaposition I think is very interesting because it shows that despite the social realities of their life, the financial realities of their life, happiness can still be found between other people who are just genuinely trying to care for one another. And I think that it makes the sadness and things being ripped apart hit even harder as it comes to the end. But I was surprised that this movie wasn't melodramatic. I think I was expecting it to be. It's maybe a little bit even too dry by the end when it's like, nope, this is what happened. Like, here's the past of these characters, and it didn't go well for them, and things were torn apart. It doesn't like turn it into this big schmaltzy like people crying their eyes out thing. Like, this is like interrogation room, bing bang boom. But I'm rambling about, I think, why this movie works so well for me is that it's willing to present a surprisingly lighthearted slice of life within a much more dour context that gives it this kind of bittersweet energy that I was able to find a lot more sweetness in than I think I was expecting.
I would kind of categorize it as like this rise and fall narrative, like the rise of the family, which starts with Yuri being brought in. We have this. I think the cold open really sets our stage very well, in which what's his name, Shota and what is the father's name? Father-ish guy, Osamu.
Omatsu. Yeah, Osamu.
So Shota and Osamu are shoplifting, and they're good at it. They get away with it scot free. And then on their way home, they find the little girl who, they know they're driven between, they're stuck between. This is a bad idea. Like, this opens us up to a lot of risk, and yet there's that very empathetic, very just like seeing when someone is in need. That seems to be the core ideology of the family, quote unquote. That they like are all in it to help each other out, and they are stronger together, basically. And so as Yuri is brought more into the family, and they open up, and she opens up a little more, and they kind of uncover her troubled past, and they try to figure out, what's going on. So too does that happen with Shota, and so too does it happen between Nobuyo and Osamu. Their relationship, in the purely textual runtime of the film, develops and becomes more intense. And as maybe they were sexually related beforehand. We don't know. They definitely are by the middle of the film. So that when we then take it all away, the fall, I think, hits. Well, of course, it hits very hard because we care quite a lot about these characters. But we've really built up this notion of family, I think, which is the thing that I am taking away from this movie, the patch that it wears loud and proud on its sleeve, about the inherent goodness and the love that can exist between people who just love each other. And I think the repeated notions between characters, especially between the grandma and Nobuyo, about choice, choosing your parents, that Yuri seems, she could have maybe left if she wanted to, or that Shota they've all seemed to have chosen each other, and that can create, and I think that the film is maybe coming down on this side, is a much stronger bond than the ones that are forced upon you through the birth family or genetic family.
Yeah, I think that part of what makes this film really effective, I think, is where it chooses to start, which is well after the family unit has come together. Because as we come to learn by the end of the film, none of these people are actually related. None of them.
No, that's what I was just going to make sure.
And the grandma are like in-laws.
That's yes, technically.
But
is that
like,
how that works?
They are. Aki's like the daughter of
a different
the spouse of.
No, I mean, there's no literal blood relation between any of them.
Yeah. Point being, you would never get that impression about these people based on how the film begins, and I think that it is relying on the warmth of the performances and sort of the comfort with which they interact with each other to I think lull is maybe not the right word, but I'm just going to use it, lull you into this idea that, well, obviously they're all a family. And so to your point, Timo,
it's like patently obvious in the movie.
Yeah. Like, to your point, the film is very heavy-handed ultimately about what it's trying to express. I actually think its most beautiful scene is its most heavy-handed when Nobuyo is holding Yuri, or Lin as we know her at that point in the story, and they're burning her old clothes from when she lived with her actual family. And she's hugging the child and saying something effective like, if they told you that they loved you when they hit you, or that they hit you because they loved you, that's wrong. If they really loved you, they'd be doing
this. That is a lie, is what she says.
Yeah.
Which is even stronger than it being wrong, I'd say.
No, that's a good point. And so the film is really interested, obviously, in these big emotional moments, but it exists, I think, to subtly really reinforce wordlessly often the relationships between these people and the strength of the emotional bonds that they have. And you even feel that in the opening, in the cold open of the film, as we're doing the first instance of shoplifting, where you
Kind of heist like.
yeah, and it's so rhythmic, and we have hand signals, and
Mhm.
the way that whole thing is constructed shows this incredible familiarity, and then then the bond between them as they get their croquettes on the way home. Yes, the movie is very obvious, but I think it also is so beautifully performed and so interested in presenting you with the status quo you wouldn't even think to challenge at the beginning, that there is something I think actually quite subtle happening, especially as the movie starts. And to me, that's why it really works.
I'm trying to decipher the element of criminality in this film because the title, right, is a criminal act. We are like in Japan, so my preconceived notions are flaring up about and but the impression of criminals as being bad people,
Emo's
and
waiting for the Yakuza to get involved here
right,
also.
right.
Yeah.
The mob need this movie needs some.
Uh-huh.
No, it doesn't. This movie doesn't need anything. The like juxtaposition between the tenderness and the necessity of the actions that these characters take and what we would have all in a different context seen as disparaging or as as detrimental. And I think this is a big part of what works for me in the third act with the interrogators is the like everything that the interrogators say to everybody is like factually correct, and yet it is 100% emotionally wrong. And so that that they're coming at like, why did you make your kid shoplift? Like, and
Hmm.
the answers, which the characters can't really explain themselves, but we are shown so beautifully in the film, is out of necessity, is out of hunger, is out of these elements of love too. The fact that the
Hmm.
grandma, is kind of shystering her dead husband's family, and yet
Well,
the
this is
money is flowing back into the people who need it. Minus a little
mhm.
cut on the top,
Well,
but it's like, yeah,
well, this is what I wanted to ask because you brought up the interrogators as well. This is a question I was going to raise at one point. It didn't have to be towards the beginning of this discussion or whatever, but might as well. So, because you mentioned the things that the interrogators, the police at the end of the film are saying are factually true. The one that sticks out to me the most, or sort of sticks in my mind the most, is like, is that the truth or isn't it? And I suppose that question is kind of the point. I'm not saying it's a flaw in the film by any means, but when they say to Aki that her original family, her two birth parents, knew that she was staying with the grandmother, and that's why they were paying her. But if you think back to that scene that we see between Hatsuya and the two parents, she's given this money as under the pretense of like, I'm sorry that my dad cheated on you, basically, with my mom. That's kind of
There's so much
what
going
that
on
that
in
father
that scene
says.
that we are not privy to
Yeah,
beforehand that I was like, oh my god,
yeah.
hold on. I really need to figure this out. And I didn't take the time to like actually piece those pieces together. But I think what's so
Uh-huh.
interesting about that interrogation sequence and the factuality or the subjective factuality of it is that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think a lot of these lines that the interrogators and the police are giving the news and that the news is reporting on are uh, are things that, again, from an outsider's perspective, are the reality of the criminal reality of the situation, not the emotional reality of the
Hmm.
situation. But they're also fueled by this kind of underlying assumption that people make about criminal acts is that they are maliciously motivated, and so they need to
or
reinforce.
selfish, or and so on.
Yeah, that the
Hmm.
news needs to reinforce, and the people doing the interrogation who are police officers need to reinforce that these are bad things, and therefore they need to do a little bit of juicing on the top of what the story
Hmm.
is of these people of they were taking advantage of this old woman that
It's a mystery what they were up to in
yeah,
that house, and it's
exactly.
like
That was a very interesting line where it's like
one
we've
of my
just
favorite
spent
Hmm.
lines.
an hour and 45 minutes in this house, and we know nothing scandalous was going on. I
They
mean,
were
Right.
just
yeah,
living.
and the line when it's like news people asking or the reporters asking, it's like, oh, has Jury eaten recently? Whatever. It's like, oh no, she's fine. She's back to her family. She wanted to go back, and we we get this kind of outsider's perspective on a dynamic that we as viewers are insiders on. And this is again brings us back to what I was saying at the beginning of why I found this movie so affecting and interesting emotionally. Of every person has that kind of dynamic to their own life. They understand the emotional realities and the baggage that they hold, and the struggles that the people around them hold. And if you sit down and write out on a piece of paper or in a legal system, here are the facts of what happened, it strips out the emotional reality that everything is much more complicated and much more gray than is possible to really actually portray to someone else. But this movie takes that kind of like line and it like hard cuts it about 75% of the way through, and you just boom, you get the other side of it.
I will say that I think again this is why I think this film is probably like maybe the best version of when Koreeda does this kind of story. Is that the heart of this movie is basically so big that it can sort of like stifle and suffocate like the hardline moralistic systems that it displays as well. Like when we're watching these things, as we're all talking about, when we're listening to the newscasters or the police officers or whatever, like, no, you don't understand the intricacies of what happens here. But the heart isn't so big. The heart of the movie isn't so big that it totally eclipses like the complication and the ugly side of the characters that we are talking about. I mean,
and they
one of
discuss
the most
among themselves that part of themselves at times.
One of the most interesting scenes to me is when after Shota is he's hospitalized from after he jumps off that that highway and injures his leg, and his parents they sneak out of the hospital. Basically, they were, I mean, Osumo, like as you were just saying, Timo, is basically upfront with the fact, or he's not upfront with the fact. It eventually comes out when he's talking to Shota that like, yeah, we were gonna like cut and run and like leave you, just out of a sense of self-preservation and preserving the rest of the family and what we stand for and taking care of each other in that sense. Like they were going to cut their losses with this kid they've been living with for they've been raising as a son for 10 years, something like that. So you're like, that is fucked up, and raises the question of like what is the greater good to these people.
That sort of subjective empathy I think is very interesting. Because I think you can put yourself in so many different shoes in that situation. Of maybe the empathy and within their group is that preserving the majority of them is the more empathetic act to do.
Yeah.
Maybe it also is, as they lightly mentioned. Who knows if this is just a justification or not? But it's that they also know that he's going to be fed, he's going to be clothed, he's going to be put into some kind of system where he probably actually will have a traditionally more stable life than he is living with them. And so maybe that's also the more...
Which he ended up with anyway.
Well, no, exactly, yeah. And so that's a complicated empathetic moment of what, frankly, like traditional storytelling would tell us, and like the power of a family unit is don't leave anyone behind. And make sure you go back and get him and bring him back to the caring family that we have seen that he has. But maybe who knows what the more empathetic and morally correct decision actually would be to make.
And I think it's even more complicated than that, because that scene that Tanner's talking about with Osamu and Shota while they're once the next morning comes, this is, here we are not very far in the review, and we are in very, very much the ending detail of this movie. Exactly. But I think this is like the heart of it.
This is the first ever spoiler-filled Quest episode.
First ever. Shota also has a big admission to make to Osamu. Yeah. He asks Osamu, were you going to leave me like the cops told me? And he's, Osamu's upfront with him, yes, because they don't really lie to each other. They instruct each other to lie to others to keep their strength and their family knit together. But then the next morning, Shota is like, I got caught intentionally.
Yeah.
Do we believe that?
Do we believe that? I kind of
do,
because I think that his plan, right, he is dealing with the moral, like everybody is dealing with the consequences of what they're up to in their like small time criminal
He's
acts.
developing his view on the morality, though. He's the only character that is
he definitely is. I really like that his whole plot line basically of like developing this moral system that he's he is down the path of like,
I will do the wrong things so that my little sister can have the benefit, but won't have the detriment of committing these acts. Especially when he's like
Yes.
revealed that the small time shopkeeper who is pretty much completely aware of what they're doing and lets him do it
Mhm.
anyway. But just he's like, don't make your little sister do that. Whether
Yeah.
it's that or the literal act of stealing. And so then when Lynn comes into the supermarket when she was instructed not to, you if these were adults, we'd be like, why are we doing it? But they're children. They just act in ways that because they like get an impulse and they just do it. And so I read it as Shota protecting her. She was going to be caught immediately in
Yeah.
her strategy wasn't going to work. She wasn't good enough at
No.
it, and so he took drastic action
And
to
she's
save
also
her.
never faced the consequences for that. So I think he's like reading into her like, oh, I need to save her because she doesn't know what's about to happen. It's probably happened to him sometime in the
Yes.
past.
Mhm.
And he also has the idea of did they kidnap her or not in the back of his head, which was a earlier discussion that the family had. And they are arriving at this conclusion that is well reasoned in that they pretty much did kidnap her, but she's better for it, which is a very interesting like.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
to stick on the point about, because here's my read of what Shota is admitting by the end of the film. When he talks about getting caught on purpose, there's no doubt that he purposely made a commotion to make sure that Lynn
Definitely.
gets out of
You
there.
kind of get that immediately in that scene when he like makes a show of like running out with that bag of oranges or whatever.
Right, but then the way that the way that escalates. Firstly, I just think that that whole sequence is extremely well constructed. We go to the place that we are used to shoplifting from. They're closed. We go to this place that I think, importantly, is clearly for people of a higher class to be shopping at. And
It's
we
more of a
frame
chain
them,
thing than it like the local mom and pop establishment they've been out for.
we frame them low here. What feels very foreboding that we're going to this place. We immediately know something is going wrong. It escalates, I think, really well through that chase. You kind of have a sense that chase isn't going to go very well. But then here's the question I'm asking about: was he trying to get caught on purpose? Then, is the film constructs a scenario where it's very easy for him to be caught and not break his leg.
Yes, it does.
He's been boxed in on both sides, and his choice is to try to jump off this overpass. And an amazing camera move. I thought he was dead.
Just a great.
Yeah,
and the oranges roll into the
you
screen
see
like
the
hello
oranges falling,
Coppola.
it's so good.
Oh God,
Yeah,
Coppola, get away from here.
Exactly.
So the reason I raise that is because I think that's something that makes the ending so moving. Is I almost feel like he's making that remark to Osamu in part to ease Osamu's conscience for the fact that he was going to cut and run. Because then this moment that he has on the bus is admitting this thing that we've set up throughout the entire film that he won't admit. Whether he can't or won't is unclear, but he will not call Osamu dad.
Yeah.
But then he does at the end. And so to me, I think that there is this more complicated reality to what Shota is doing and expressing to Osamu as the bus is pulling away. I don't think it's as simple as his plan was to leap off of this overpass.
No. Mm-hmm.
I think he thought he was maybe going to land and get up and keep
maybe.
rolling.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I think
Go ahead.
the development of his character arc and the reason why I think it is certainly possible. I think it's a very interesting read that that maybe he's doing that to be like, okay, we both have a secret, and like it's like now that we've both told each other, we can like kind of be on even playing field, whatever. I think that's a very interesting read, but I think that watching him sort of come to terms across the course of the film with the criminal reality and the fact that he is not comfortable with it, even as he continues to do it, as we see him do it more and more, and he realizes the consequences and the potential consequences of it, his actions and the family's actions, he seems to start to bristle more and push up against it a little bit more. I think that the reason why he would want to get caught is like that's comparatively an emotionally easy way out of the situation. If he is he likes being with this family. He knows that they care for him, but he's definitely not fully in it. He's not comfortable with as comfortable with the criminality. He's not as comfortable with the mom and dad aspect of it. He's even though he's been there for a very long time. Maybe there's a thought in his mind that there is a way out of this by getting caught, and that will be like, all right, that's it, that's it. I don't have to deal with this complicated situation I'm in anymore. I don't know what the real rate is, but I think it is an interestingly complicated situation for a what 8-year-old, 9-year-old to be in.
Yeah, I was thinking like 10,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean it's something like that. I just have to also shout out again, like we were kind of alluding to, and showed us like feeling out the moral situation and his own moral compass and everything in this film, which I think is really really well done. Is after he sort of reckoned with the fact that they have that they have kidnapped Yuri and everything like that, and he's with Osamu during this trip, during this excursion, where Osamu just like walks into a parking lot, breaks the window of a van, steals a purse, and leaves or whatever. And he's like,
It's like
"But we-"
that's like the one that is clearly too
Yeah.
far.
it's
for
really
Shota.
interesting to see him like try to like test and prod like the moral fortitude of these lessons that Osamu has taught him up to this point. He's like, oh, we shoplift from here because we shoplift because people haven't bought that stuff yet, so it's not like stealing from somebody. It's stuff that nobody owns technically.
And if we don't make the store go bankrupt,
yeah,
which then
yeah, that's right. They
I think,
notably steal like little things or whatever. Even in that one store, like they steal like fishing poles or something like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, when that happens, and Shota basically has questions for Osamu that are like, hey, why did we do that? Like this doesn't really apply to our moral code. And then he goes to, did you do that with me? I think it was more like, when you stole me from this van or whatever, which is kind of the first time that we learn how Shota got ingratiated into the family, or how he entered the family. He's like, were you also there? Like, were you stealing a purse, like, too, or were you just stealing me? And Osamu, thinking that he's giving him like a heartfelt, "Oh, we love you" answer, was like, "Oh, we were just there to get you," which makes Shota feel worse. It was like, this wasn't like a happenstance or anything like that. I wasn't just there. I wasn't being taken out of a bad situation or anything like that.
I think
It was
Osamu's
literally
lying.
just.
I think it's just like a
You think Osamu's
because
lying?
I
Okay.
think that sequence is interesting because it shows that Osamu's mental moral framework and the lessons he's imparting onto the children are lessons that he does not 100% adhere to. I think that there's that moment when he takes out the hammer and you see the surprise on Shoto's face. This is clearly something that's a little bit farther than what he's used to in terms of criminality. But Osamu's totally comfortable with it. He's got the hammer. He's like, oh, you want to do it? And that whole sequence, I think, is set up to show that Osamu is more lax with the morality of his criminality, and so when he says,
Certainly.
"Oh, we were just there to save you," I'm like, I don't believe you. Clearly, you've been doing this for a long time. I would definitely believe you've been doing this longer than you've had Shota around.
But I think that, if I may add a bit of a complication, that what we're shown how Osamu reacts with Yuri on the porch is very different. Like he's not seeing yen signs. He's not seeing a
course.
way to like scam more and make money. He sees a person in need. And so I'm
not saying it's like clear
like,
cut.
I can't.
And he like was.
Oh, yeah.
I also don't think he was trying to say. I think he did care and he did want to save Shota, but I think he was there to break into a car, and then he found a kid. And he's like, I can. Something good can come out of this. I can. But
a kid who had been abandoned or something.
or something.
They said
he's in a car.
We don't know.
It's interesting. That one's not as.
Well, I don't know. I was just saying that Shota then immediately draws the connection of what he saw his father Osamu just do, and break his moral code without any real justification, and just take something that belonged to someone else, and he's like, that was what happened to me. Like that's why I'm in this family. That's why I'm in the situation that I'm in, is because my dad, whatever moral code that he espouses, he breaks. And just take something that takes some things that it belongs to somebody else. Like he draws a connection between, exactly, the Chanel bag and himself, I suppose, in that moment. which just feeds into furthering this idea of Shota establishing this moral code for himself as well. It's sort of a it's Osamu imparting this "do as I say, not as I do" kind of thing.
I want to zoom out a little bit and think about the idea of the kidnapping, because we've been talking a lot about the moral ambiguity of the film. But one thing that the movie is extremely clear about is the fact that Yuri's parents are abusive to one
Sure.
another, to her, and that her returning to that home is very bad. And
Yeah.
I think that we affirm this not only through scenes that are obvious in their abuse, like the moment where we actually see Yuri interacting with her mother, or when we try to drop her off and we hear this horrific physical argument,
Hmm.
domestic violence incident unfolding. But the one that gets me the most is when we're in the dressing room and we're offering Lynn, as she's known then as
Mhm.
Lynn, a new bathing suit. And Lynn is hesitant to accept it because she's been come to condition, as we reaffirm later in the film, that these sorts of clothing presents are a make good for physical
Abuse.
violence.
Yeah.
And so the reason I raise this is because for any ambiguity about what might have happened with Shota, the film is very specific to make us understand that there is no ambiguity when it
Mhm.
comes to Yuri. And then what's so interesting about what happens by the end of the film is that the systems around these people make
We
the,
got to discuss the systems in this movie. There's
Oh,
way
sure.
more than just
Oh,
the one you're
sure.
drilling into.
the systems make this choice that is obviously wrong based on the information we have as viewers, that has returned to this place of abuse that, as the film ends, she's stuck in.
But here, riddle me this. Why do none of the adults who know without a shadow of a doubt that she's being abused at this home stay silent about it? They do not tell, or we are not, we are definitely not shown, but I mean, clearly they don't say anything about the abuse that they have uncovered. And so then for me, the moral ambiguity creeps right back in because, I would think that the upstanding moral person would be like, "Hey, no, don't send her back there. I saw the burn marks. She
My
told me she
reading
was
of
getting
that
beat."
is
Like,
that they largely, it seems like they kind of give in to the system. They don't fight it too hard. Like, this is gonna happen. It's gonna make
I
things
think
worse for us if we like.
criminal justice in Japan is maybe the explanation on
Sure.
that. Very difficult to
Mhm.
fight the
Y-
system in
Yeah,
Japan
yeah.
in the justice system.
Um,
And
and even in that though, like, I think that situation of them be like, no, we took her because she was kidnapped. They'd be like, you're a bunch of poor people who buried a dead body. Like, we're not gonna believe you on that. Like, are you just trying to like make things sweeter for yourself by justifying it in some way? Like, I think they're
Mhm.
like, look, this is not gonna help our situation. If we like try to push back against this and tell the reality that we are shown, but the perspective from the outsider's perspective, the worst injustice is kidnapping. And so even if they try to justify it, that's not gonna make her not go back to her parents, probably.
Yeah, I mean, they basically rip. They do that like immediately in the film as well. Yeah. I mean, the one time it's sort of addressed by the interrogators and our core cast of characters is in that scene where the female interrogator basically says to Nobuyo, like, Lynn chose to go back. And she's like and she just questions that. She's like, she wanted to go back, and clearly Nobuyo does not believe her. But it sort of speaks to the imbalance of power in that situation, and that is that like
Yeah.
Nobuyo knows this police officer is
Yeah,
lying
yeah.
about the kid, about her wanting to go back to her family.
We
But what
see
is
the
she to do
picture.
in that situation?
Lynn's drawing of of jumping at the beach.
Yeah.
A kid who's unhappy in the situation. Like, we all know that this is how CPS in America gets information out of kids, is having them draw pictures and stuff. And the ones who are
Mhm.
troubled draw like terrifyingly scary images.
Hmm.
Well, and this is why I think we need to not get lost in the weeds of the morality of individuals for a second, because
Sure,
I think that the film is specifically interested in the relationship between these individuals and these systems that are clearly failing to in any way govern or protect them. because we have this example, sort of the core thrust of the film, that regardless of who could have explained what better or done what differently, has resulted in a child being abused, being in a position where she's being abused after escaping that abuse. But then we see other examples of this, like Nabuya's boss, who who needs
Slime dog.
who needs somebody to be fired, and basically says, work it out amongst yourselves.
insane.
No. I don't think he doesn't need somebody to be fired. He's like, somebody's got to work less hours. Like, you guys are getting by the margins already. You will still work here. You will still do work for me, by the way. But you will be making even less than you do now, like basically negligible, useless money that you're getting. Like, it doesn't get you anywhere. And he's like, I can't make the decision. You two go figure it out. And then Nobuo and this coworker of her do, basically because her coworker like blackmails her with what she knows that the family has done.
Yeah, and I mean, so when we look at things like this, I think we see a film that's painting this wider social worldview in which people are being routinely failed. And
Osamu's injury at the work site.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another.
And then subsequent firing. Does he get fired from
We
that
just never
job?
see him go back to it.
Wholesale?
Did he ever really want that
Yeah.
job in the first place?
Yeah.
He does. Out of all the characters, he is like the least upstanding in my mind.
Certainly.
He if he could slack off for the rest of his life, like totally, I think he would.
probably.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, maybe I would too, actually, though.
Yeah. Well, hey, who wouldn't?
Who knows?
well, yeah, that's why I just think that this film is very particularly interested in. It's interested in illustrating how these people are being failed by these systems, but it's also very interested in making it clear that the solution isn't just for these individual people to work things out amongst themselves.
No, it is not.
So I think that it does make this case for the need for this sort of social infrastructure
I was
that is
thinking
failing.
earlier about the safety net and how with Shoda's and the family's basic understanding that an injury or being apprehended by the police would lead to the safety net being installed underneath him, that he would be fed and clothed and mended in the hospital, maybe sent off to a children's home or jail or whatever. But we are shown that no such safety net exists for the family as a whole, and they have no ability to get any help from, that it doesn't seem possible in their world to get help from the government to get them out of the situation that is causing all of this in the beginning, that they are poor, that they are deadly poor, that
They are,
this house set, man, I love the set of this house, just how cramped and crowded and dirty it is.
The
really
house,
well
like,
done.
literally exists in the margins of, like, in between, like, two larger buildings or whatever.
It's like
just
a
sort of,
backyard unit.
crammed
It's
in
important
there,
to note,
basically.
we don't learn that until much later in the film, and there's like this that's like farther ahead shot because we're so close to the house for so much of it. We're in the walls, we're on the floor, that
with
kind
the
of thing.
family.
And then later down the line, and I just think it's an interesting shot. I don't really know what this means. This is sort of what the shot or the context implies about the house, but is that it's like the house from Up, right? Is like it's the world has changed around it, but it has sat there, and it's clearly much older, and this family has been there, and they have had that pond there. It's been there for a very long time, and the world has changed around them, but they have not changed.
Well, they're trying to. There's a scene early on where the grandmother, somebody's coming around basically to try to kick her out, try to get her out of there so they can flip the property.
Like Up.
Just like
I'm trying. This
Koreeda's taking notes.
Some balloons
from
to the top.
Doctor.
This is an impossible Google search to try to successfully complete, but I'm trying to find the shirt that Naboyo is wearing. It says something to the effect of, like, freedom is not given. The people who oppress you won't give you the freedom. You have to take it from them.
Let me go to
Go
to VK
Abram,
video
do you know...
where I watched this movie.
Yeah. Do you,
Yes.
I have it. I have it here on download. Let me see. Do you remember where it's from?
It's
part of the movie?
It's
I'll try to
later
find
in
this
the
for you.
it's later in the film. It's a scene where Naboyo is standing in the kitchen talking to Aki.
Okay.
That's the best I can do.
I might be a little disconnected for a moment while I research.
You found it? Okay.
Tucker's got it?
Freedom is never voluntary. Something the oppressor some justice must be demanded by the oppressed.
Yeah.
Yes. This is a
n-
quote.
n-
This is a quote from some
It's 1 hour 18.
crazy
It's 1 hour
European
and 8 minutes
socialist
into the
guy.
movie.
Sure.
Saying that you must demand freedom. The freedom is never given to you by those who have the
Mhm.
ability
Of
to
course,
give it
yeah.
to you. You must take it, and often by force and violence.
Uh-huh.
Timo, you were close. This was a quote from Martin Luther King.
Oh,
Yeah.
even better. I love that. Guy.
Well, yes, certainly,
Letter-
certainly. Well,
I'm a little
what's
mixed on him.
interesting is, is it? What were we gonna say, Abram?
It's from the letters from Birmingham jail.
Gotcha.
Oh,
gotcha,
right,
Fair
okay.
enough. Okay. Well, it's
Really ought to
interesting. Yeah,
know that one by
like the quote from Martin Luther King Jr. They're obviously written in English on this shirt, sort of like an allusion to this, humorous cultural exchange that happens all over the world with the shirts written in English or shirts in America or other English-speaking countries written in a different language, or it's like it's nonsense or it's meaningless or it does have some meaning. It's just weird to see that on a shirt, basically. Where like in America, that shirt would be like a serious political statement. You'd probably get thrown on Fox News for wearing that shirt around campus or something like that. Where here, it's like this is just nonsense text
It's like
to
a
these
house
people.
They
t-shirt.
probably have no idea what
Especially
it
when
but
we're
it-
doing laundry.
Well,
Exactly,
they probably
but
it's
it
probably a
is
shirt that they
underlining
just came
the-
across, right? They didn't.
They probably
Exactly.
don't
take it
actually know
for
what
that.
it says at
Yeah.
all.
We literally know that Osamu says I don't know how to speak English.
Yeah. It is underlining the incongruity and the injustice of their experience, and like, but they don't know they're making that political statement, and we see them, throughout the film. They're not really interested in changing the social order of things of their lives or anything
There's,
like that. They are
no discussion of politics.
Yeah, they are just getting by. That is their concern. So that's what obviously. We already brought it up, but like Parasite wins the Palme d'Or the year after this, and that is very much a film in Bong Joon-ho's sort of parlance, where it's like it's a little bit more schemy, it's a little bit more thrilling, and a little bit more exciting because these people are looking to actively scheme and lie and climb the social ladder and everything like that. Whereas this is Koreeda examining the lives of people who exist in the margins, are just trying to get by, and have formed this, sort of unorthodox family unit to meet
All
those
they
ends,
want is a
basically, to help out
passably
the people
comfortable
around
life.
them.
They want a
Exactly.
enough space and enough food to exist with the people that they care about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the thing that I think is really useful and interesting about this film is like if we contrast it not even just against Parasite, but against like we've watched a couple Ken Loach movies.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
really
I-
thinking about
I, Daniel Blake.
one that won Palme d'Or. I Daniel Blake. Yes.
The one,
Mhm.
yeah,
And-
the
and I
one
think-
Palme d'Or winner, yeah.
I mean, a lot of stories about this sort of impoverished life are intrinsically political stories. It's
Mhm.
politicizing the life and precarity of living this way.
Yeah.
And I think that this film is interested in a different truth, which is that this is still a life for these people.
Mhm.
And so their concern, and that's why I like that the way that I kind of feel like this film that is obviously very concerned with the class of the characters kind of turns that on its ear. This isn't this isn't Rosetta or it's not I Daniel Blake.
Mhm.
It's about these emotional concerns that these people still have, and I think it's an incredible work that makes everyone feel extremely specifically humanized, and I think that is important. I think that that's also rhetorically powerful for telling a
And
story
it all
like this.
comes together in the beach scene where they take time off and they have fun and they relax, and Osamu gives the talk to
Yeah.
Show-
yeah.
he's like hey, that's not weird, man, you're healthy, you're doing good, brother. Like these are like those aspects of just trying to get to a normal life, and they just want to eat food that is delicious, that they like. They want to drink beer, they want to have sex, they want to smoke a cigarette every once in a while. Like
Mhm.
they're trying to exhibit the normal factors of and live a normal life when the life that they are in seems to really be trying every step of the way to not allow that to happen, and yet they
Mhm.
are so strong actually that they can still find it and find their happiness. I think the grandma's characters kind of this is like a couple of scenes before she dies out there at the beach,
It's
and
a
her
hard
like
cut to the next morning. She's died.
I guess so,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I don't exactly know what to make of like her worrying about old age, but the idea that one of her final memories or the final thing she got to do in life was to just like enjoy a day off with her family,
I think that
see them playing and loving together.
I think that is like that's the ultimate uh exemplification of this is all that they want. This is all that she wanted. She could literally
Yeah,
die
yeah.
happy because, as far as we know, she has not had the chance to do something like this. Maybe ever, if not for a very long time, when her life was
Mhm.
presumably somewhat stable with her husband, who they killed. Okay, there's a lot of stuff going on with the grandma and like the reality of the history of this world.
Well, yes,
But
I do want to. Yeah, go
It's a
ahead.
little foggy in my mind.
but yeah, as I saw her sitting on the beach, like I really like the shot where we watch her face as they're having fun, and we don't do it. This movie loves establish a like back and forth shot comparison, and then
Shot, reverse shot.
Mhm.
establish a shot, reverse shot, and then never go back to it. So you have the visual context, but instead of oscillating back and forth, we get to hang on an expression. Another good example of that is when Shota's riding away in the bus. And like we know what's on the other side, what he's looking at, because we have that established. We
Mhm.
get to hang on the face, and I think that hanging on the grandma's face in this moment, I'm like, she's she's gonna die the next scene, and I was totally right.
Well, I want to talk about her death because I think that is it's in this movie that has a bigger tonal shift coming. I think it is
It's like
a
a
step
domino.
down that path. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we kind of have a high point at the beach, and then the death happens.
Yes, and I do really love this sequence. I mean, I love the shot of I believe it's probably Nobuyo like brushing her hair after she has passed and everything like that. And yes, this realization that sort of challenges our understanding of like the socioeconomic position of this family was like they cannot afford to bury or even cremate this body. Like what can you do with it? And on top of that, outside of like the money that would literally cost for funeral services, like they're like, well, we should still keep collecting her pension. Like literally, that is probably what the grandma would have wanted,
definitely. Yeah.
is for them to continue collecting this. And so like, well, what is there for us to do? I guess we have to bury her under the house, which is like, yeah, as we were talking about a while ago, is this thing that's presented on the news and by the police as this like diabolical criminal act. But like when you see it in the movie, when you see it in action, it's actually it's bracing in immediate in the immediate sense. Like don't get me wrong, like I was sort of like, whoa, this is really crazy to see, like them peeling up the floorboards and digging out the floor underneath with bowls and stuff like that. And you're like, there is something kind of lovely to that idea as well, and something
It's the funeral
realistic
that
about
they
her
can
position.
do.
It's the funeral
Exactly,
they
there's
can do, and
something
it's probably
realistic
the
about
one
her.
that she would have wanted to have her
Exactly,
body
that's
still be
kind of
there
the point I was going to.
in the place
Yeah.
that all of her good memories have been. Yeah,
Mhm.
that is very because there's no malicious intent at all. She was not murdered. She lived a long, happy life. We
Mhm.
don't know how
A long life, maybe not so
a
happy.
long life
It's full of
with
struggle,
happiness in it.
yes.
But and the fact that she dies without she wasn't murdered or anything. And then
Mhm.
they bury her where she close to them and where she
Lived.
lived. So
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
you think about the fact that like we have these rules in society of bodies must be handled in this way, and it is inherently a criminal act viewed
Mhm.
by the justice
And
system.
it's again tinged by freaking capitalism, dude. Where it's like, oh yeah, you have like thousands of dollars to spend after your loved one just dies for this industry to come in and to sweep in and like provide this thing that is socially accepted. Exactly. And then the people on the outskirts, on the margins, again are once again punished if they cannot meet those societal and capitalistic demands.
Well, I even just think about that really excellent line from Nobuyo as she's being interrogated. The interrogators ask, saying, "Well, you threw her away."
Yes, I mean,
And
I need to talk about. We need to talk about
yeah,
the interrogation at the end. Yes, with
yeah,
her.
you threw her away, and Nobuyo's response is, "No, I found her."
Yeah.
But Tanner, speak on that.
Speak on it, boy.
Speak on that. Okay.
Speak on that, my
Uh,
boy.
Nobuyo in the
Talk about the
ending of
Japanese
this
justice
movie
system, white boy.
is I gotta talk about Sakura Ando is the actress
Mhm.
here.
Mhm.
Is truly like amongst the most amongst the like most gripping and enthralling just a face holding a camera stuff that I've seen, at least
Oh,
in
and
recent memory.
the way it's shot too. The fact that
Yeah,
we place a lot of the movie like lets us be very like full in the characters. You got two; these are heads, and we're like looking shot and like that with over the
back and
shoulders.
forth. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And in the interrogation, it's like this, like how we're framed here, like
It
boom,
is
like
cent-
straight, direct
center
address.
framed, and like you have to as a director, you have to have so much faith in the inherent like just presence and power of your actors to be able to construct a sequence or shots or what have you where it is just their face for minutes on end. It almost kind of feels like a lot of times like she's speaking very slowly and deliberately. She is repeating phrases. It's not like she's giving some grand soliloquy or anything like that to the audience. It is just the performance in that moment, and you are like on the edge of your seat waiting for her to maybe disclose some more information, but mostly just like watching her emote and work through the feeling that like the family that she had built is completely broken up and she is facing the consequences of actions that have compounded for over a decade or
But
more
also
at this
important to
point.
note that it doesn't veer into the sort of melodramatic tear streaming. Like her eyes are
No, no,
moist,
no.
but
She's quite
she doesn't regret
yes,
what she did, and she's like
And there's
she's
that
yeah,
moment.
accepting of the consequences. She's like, this is how the justice system is set
certainly,
up.
yes. I
But
mean,
what I did was worth it.
yeah, when we see the visiting room at the end, like that is exactly her demeanor. Is just like very realistic. Like the scales of justice have not tipped in my favor here, and so I must follow suit and like do what is eventually the right thing. Even as like when I'm talking about the sequence when Osamu and Sakura are there, when she tells
Shota.
or sorry
Shota.
Shota, sorry, when she tells Shota, this is the vehicle, this is the area, like if you want to try and find the people, this is the information that we have for you. And Osamu in that moment is kind of, you see him in the sort of on the side of the shot there, in the side of the framing, where he's kind of like put off and he's sort of alarmed that she's telling him this. And he's like, this is not really what I had in mind. This is we were kind of never going to give him this option, I don't think, at least but
Well,
you're just
no,
surprising her and dumping
another
this
good
on us.
moment of holding the camera instead of doing that shot reverse shot. We don't
Mhm.
see his face. We see Shota's face reacting to it. We see her face framed through
Mhm.
the communication glass, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we hear him be like, "Hey, no, let's
Yes.
let's
Okay.
not."
Maybe was literally just like filling in images of
Yeah,
him
we never see him
reacting
as
in
far as
my
I can
head.
remember.
If that,
Yeah,
yeah,
It's a
sure,
great moment.
sure.
Yeah,
But
we
no,
we
like,
don't, but I think that also is just testifies to how specifically I feel like I know these people.
Well, and also because
yeah,
they have such distinct performances. I
yes,
haven't really seen a lot of performances like this. Everyone is so relaxed in this movie. Given the crazy situation that they are in and the stress that they could easily be feeling, especially the two main characters, they're just like summer vibes. Like, oh, let's make a snowman. Oh, here's a little magic trick, right? Like, like ribbing each other a little bit. Just little small jokes, that kind of thing. That kind of uh like low stakes reaction to what could be a high stress is a high stress environment and could cause someone
Yeah,
to be
like
high
things that would
strung.
send me into a
Yeah.
conniption. Like
Well,
I couldn't be this calm.
well, that's also what's interesting. Again, we talked a little bit about the perspective we hold as viewers, but I think what's interesting is that we're talking about these people. What we're seeing is a slice of their life.
That should be a genre.
Mhm. I
A
know.
genre. But so then there's these many perspectives on their lives that we're seeing. We're seeing how they relate interpersonally in a situation that is normal to them. We actually ellipse a period of time to even further reaffirm this sort of status quo that our characters are living in. So we see that, and then we obviously empathize and understand these people, but we obviously are also looking at the criminal dimension of their life as being something that is hard for us to parse. And then there is that extra
Speak for
layer
yourself.
of of course, apologies, of how sort of socially and legally their lifestyles being viewed. I think that the movie also invites, I think, a lot of contemplation because it is often revealing different sides of this life. Because I think it's very smartly written to force different perspectives.
Where I thought you were going with that is actually now I think you beamed the start of your last sentence beamed a thought into my head of us as not Japanese, not low class, not poverty stricken viewers of this film.
I'm incredibly rich.
You're incredibly
I'm
Japanese.
incredibly
There
Japanese.
you go.
Yeah.
We say Timo said, and I said, like, this kind of situation would really cause a lot of anxiety for us. Like, understanding that some people exist in this kind of life, and that and imagining yourself in that situation is like, oh man, that would be very tough for me. You know, how would my emotions react to that kind of thing. But again, that is our outsider's view on their life, and the reality is, this is presumably how they've lived their entire lives. And so maybe the fact that they're so relaxed at it is just because they've had the time to adapt to it, and that's how they understand life to be, and they're finding the kind of happiness in that. But they're just used to it, and so like we're like projecting our anxiety because we are not used to that level of poverty onto these characters, and the fact that they don't react in that way is again our sort of outsider's perspective.
I think so, but I also do not think that the point that the sort of the director POV on this movie is that living in this sort of poverty is just sort of fine, and you just got to find sort of like a happy life for yourself.
Emotional sacrifices, and I wanted to talk about the relationship between Osamu and Nobuyo through this lens, because it's only directly addressed like once, I think. But you get this, they are, as we learn about their characters, you're like, okay, they're married, and of course we come to understand the complexities that arose from that later, which are just to lay them out, that like Nobuyo was in a previous relationship or marriage where her husband was abusive and she was seeing Osamu on the side. And they conspired to kill Nobuyo's original husband or partner or whatever. And basically
they got away with it by
escape the law. They decided to shack up with Hatsue, basically this grandmother in their house, which again goes back to like Nobuyo saying, "I found her. Someone had thrown this woman away, and I found her, and we started this family unit together."
There's that throwaway line though that says the judge ruled it was self-defense.
Yeah.
Sure. But then you come to understand later through these interactions that Osamu and Nobuyo are having, that like they have not been intimate with each other in a long time. They have not had sex in a long time, and
They're
like
connected up here, not down.
Exactly. It feels like really revelatory and cathartic to see them have sex, not in a titillating or an erotic way. There is something lovely about seeing these two people who do love each other and have been in love for years and years at this point finally get to reconnect physically and be with each other physically. I mean, I love the moment of they're sort of like sweaty and grimy and everything like that. I mean, in the sequence where this happens, they are sort of, sweaty and grimy looking at summertime in Tokyo. They don't necessarily have central air or anything like that. But it is, like, really heartwarming to see them, like Nobuyo literally, like, compliments Osamu on his glow, basically, from the sheen of sweat on him that makes him attractive and everything like that. And Koreeda even frames this shot of Nobuyo sort of like cooking some food or whatever in like a negligee slip or something like that, with the light coming through like a lens flare and everything like that. This is these are beautifully constructed scenes, and then there's just some nice funny kind of
the noodles dripping off the table.
Exactly, the noodles dripping off the table, and the kids coming home and then needing to like rushedly get dressed after the throes.
Oh,
of
you found a cicada! Oh, well, that's so funny, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
you're all wet. Go take a bath.
Yeah, exactly. It's just nice and funny and heartwarming and very, very sweet when that happens. And I do love that Koreeda like carves out the time of this movie to like to allow these two characters to connect in that way, not just be wholly obsessed with their roles as parents or whatever, but to give time to their roles as lovers as well.
But here's the thing, I want to put an insidious anchor on the scene.
Oh no, Abram, don't do that.
What is the pretense before they start having sex?
Yeah, they say something about how they can't afford it, right? Or
what they're talking about is how she is wearing this bra and panties.
Oh,
set
that's a little bit higher class. That costs a little bit more. She only can afford it because she was fired.
She's wearing makeup like the old days. She's spent money on these things, and it's only after that happens that this sexual relationship is reignited. And so,
sure.
I think that the film
get anchored,
which is not to take away from what you're saying, Tanner, but I think it's to complicate the read, which is what are they missing in order to re-engage in this intimate way? Well, they are missing these sorts of signifiers of comfort, material comfortability that
and
they
almost
are
like work,
lacking.
Yes. But I also am going to add a different. You got anchor on starboard. I'm putting an anchor on the port.
Don't anchor me again.
We have not talked about Aki at all.
That's true. We do need to talk about Aki as well.
She and her relationship to sex and work. What?
We don't need to talk about
her relationship to sex and work is kind of the foil to this relationship that Tanner was just bringing up in this very haunting scene at the whatever kind of shop, whatever kind of brothel-esque place it is.
I was looking into it. No,
it's like a
was
host
looking at
club, I guess.
I was looking at the Wikipedia for this movie, and they had a specific name for it. It's like a J.K. Peep show or something like that. It's called. Hang on, let me double check.
Weird Japanese sexual fantasy stuff, not exactly out of left field in my mind, but the just like how
J.K. Peep Shop is what those things
in the Chamber of Secrets.
Yes, exactly.
Like this was one of the out of all the depressing scenes in this movie, the scene with the guy in that is like. And she's like caressing his hair, but it's this transactional timed relationship.
We start that shot on like in the foreground is like a timer.
It's like a timer
on their interaction.
And that then it's just really sad to me because of both of the positions that the characters in that scene are seemingly like forced into. That Aki sees this as her asset and as her money making way, and we know that these industries are exploitative by their very nature, and we know that the men who are going to these things are doing it out of like shame, desperation, and when this guy like can't even really talk at the end is like. I found it really, really affecting in a disturbing, not very nice way. And then I think it's implied that they actually do have sex later because Aki and Nobuyo are talking in the kitchen and they're both kind of like, "Hey, you look great right now."
Yeah, the granny who knows all, who can like read into every body movement. I know it's Aki.
I was gonna say about Aki that speaking of the grandmother and their connection as well. There is towards the beginning of the movie, I think maybe after the first time, just before or just after the first time we see what Aki does for work, there is a questioning from Osamu about like, oh, why does Aki get to keep her money, but the rest of us have to like pool our money together for stuff, but her money is her money.
Yeah, they've got like an agreement.
Hatsue like kind of defends her. It's like, no, she's just a different situation. So like there's again, even when you see Hatsue and Aki talking to each other about what she does, like you expect the grandmother to be scandalized by this whole industry that her granddaughter basically is involved with. But she's not. She's not really. She's sort of interested in sort of asking positively skewing questions to Aki about this. And then she does sort of button that with, hey, why do you use your sister's name when you do this? Basically, sort of alluding to the fact that Aki is also sort of inherently maybe ashamed or, obfuscating her identity when she's doing this.
Yeah. Aki's...
Well, she literally has two names.
What?
She has two names. She,
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah,
basically
Sure,
everyone
yes.
does, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's we are made conscious of that in a very specific and again another very sort of heartfelt scene with her and Yuri when she has
Oh yeah.
assumed her identity as Lynn. And we sort of see the way that all these other people are operating. If we see the status quo of their double lives for the first good portion of the film, we actually see the beginning of Yuri's as Lynn. And I think the relationship between her and between Aki and Yuri is incredibly sweet. And I almost expected, because the film ends on this shot of Yuri standing on a table looking up over the
balcony,
the railing.
Yeah.
I was like, is there going to be some sort of closure here with Aki and her?
Yeah. It's left open. Yeah.
Not
What
really.
is she looking? She's
the last
looking
we
for
see of,
something. What is she looking
yes.
for? Is she looking for these two guys? You know, the young boy and the older man who saved her in her mind, in her childlike mind, or you know, what is going through her head there? I mean, that's boy.
Yeah.
Make me cry at that part.
The last we see of Aki is her going back to the house and seeing it completely sort of emptied out and everything like that. You know, soon I'm sure soon to be turned into an addendum, an appendix on one of the housing developments that flank it on both sides. And you know, she does go back to like her parents, right? Is sort of the understanding there.
But
I don't think we know. That's a fair
I-
assumption.
Like
to
that.
be honest, I think that's a good example of what I'm about to say. I think that Aki is I think she could have used more development, more.
I would tend to agree. Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to like sort of knock this film for any of its, you know, a lack of characterization for anybody, I guess it would probably be her.
It's not that she's poorly characterized; it's that she's not as thoroughly characterized as I think all the other ones are, and especially because her situation is uniquely complex. And I really wish I'd gotten a little bit more out of the understanding of how she relates to these people and how she feels about those things. I mean, she's comfortable around all of them, but she's a young woman, maybe around our age, that is in a part of this family unit. We get like small details of how she came to be involved with this, but I'm not. Again, I only watched the movie a few hours ago. I don't have a complete understanding of it. But I think that I would have wanted to see a little bit more of one-on-one time of her with all the other characters. I think I kind of get a little bit better sense of how everyone else relates to one another and their dynamics. But Abram, you're mentioning that moment with Yuri. I think it's one of the best moments that she has because it is that sort of intimate one-on-one, their bond together moment that I get glimpses of. But I'm like, I don't know, and like I think there's a great potential relationship between Shota and Aki that we never really get to spend time exploring. Is that a brother and sister kind of dynamic? Is she like? I don't really know how she feels much about that. How does she feel about Osamu?
I know how Shota feels.
Well, yeah, that's always a good question. In the shot of the beach, he's looking at her boobs,
correct.
right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the movie does like to talk about the fact that she's well endowed, and that's like part of her appeal or whatever.
Yes.
But
I was mentioning the assets earlier.
the assets, Jesus Christ. But yeah,
I mean, is it not selling your body? That's what the job is. As unfortunate as it is.
Well, I suppose.
Yeah, I thought she was really interesting, and I think that the thing that is well explored about her is her dynamic with her job and how she feels about that. But I think a lot of the strength of this movie comes from sort of interpersonal within the home dynamic, and I don't think she gets quite as much of that.
Do you make anything of the fact that the other characters with jobs are lose them, foisted out of them, and her job, she's able to keep it, or as far as we can tell?
I think there's certainly something there that you know with both of the other characters with Osamu and Nobuyo, we do kind of see them amongst a throng of other people in similar uniforms and everything.
Proletariat, perhaps.
Yes, exactly. We're sort of, you know, a giant crowd shots crammed into like a van at one point going to a construction site, stuff like that.
And then the guy's like, "This stupid idiot quit. What a waste of a person."
Yeah, we see them amongst a bunch of other people, and we literally see scenes of them being interchangeable as well. Whereas we never see that. We never see that sort of like interchangeability with Aki
True.
in her
Mr.
position.
Four
Yes,
comes to Aki, not to
exactly.
one of the other girls.
Exactly. Yes. So there's value in her being there specifically, but again, also she is fetishized in a schoolgirl costume and like only there, basically on the side of a one-way mirror kind of thing. Is there's not that it's she is valuable to this system or anything like that by any merit of her own, but because she is fetishized and valuable for what she represents.
Real as hell.
Anything else?
Mm.
I did want to. I talked about the Nobuyo sort of interrogation at the end there, but I really love when she just kind of says. I think the kind of the last we see of her when we end that scene is when the interrogator asks, "Well, what did your children call you? Like, did they call you mom or whatever?" And she just sort of just repeats this phrase. She's just like, "I wonder." I wonder what they called her. Like, they might have called her Nobuyo, they might have called her mom, but like truly, I think what she's questioning there is what did they think of me at the really truly? Like, was I their mother, or did they always harbor this idea that like I was their kidnapper, basically on some level, kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, and just like you were talking about earlier with was it Aoki, the performer's name? Her performance in that moment.
Oh yes,
Oh my god, and just like the length that we stay on that shot, and that the kind of the interiority of the character just comes straight through with her facial performance, and she's like covering it up with her face a lot, or with her hand like a lot of the time.
Sakura Ando is the actress's name, and she like I said, I just wanted to shout her out because she really wowed me in those sequences for sure, and throughout the film, of course. I'm just looking to see if I had written anything else down that we didn't really address.
I don't know if I have much else, to be honest. I feel like we really hit a lot of the points that were really front of mind and front of heart after getting done watching this a couple hours ago.
Oh yeah, brother, man.
I think I'm out.
Should we do a little score?
Let's do a little scoring.
Sure. You want the Palme Details?
Yeah, Palme Details while we do it.
At the 2018 Cannes Film Festival, Shoplifters was the only winner that year. I was actually wondering, wait, gone are the days where they used to like split the win or whatever between a number of films. When was the last time that they did that? I wonder. Let me see. When was the last time we had a
80s
dual
or something?
winner? 1997 was The Eel and Taste of Cherry.
Okay.
That has not happened since. So anyway, at the 2018 Cannes Film Festival, jury president this year was a wonderful actress unto her own right. Cate Blanchett was the jury president this year.
Jury president.
Notable members of...
Thank you.
Very good. Other notable members of the jury include American filmmaker Ava DuVernay, French actress Léa Seydoux, American actress Kristen Stewart, Canadian director Denis Villeneuve, and Russian director Andrei Zavaskinev.
Okay.
The Leviathan guy.
The Leviathan guy. Wow.
Yeah.
What a great jury. I mean, those are all really excellent performers and directors.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Of the 20 other films in competition, notable submissions that were up in competition include Spike Lee's Black Klansman, Lee Shandong's Burning, Nadine Lebaki's Capernaum, Powell Polakowski's Cold War, Alice Vorvacher's Happy as Lazaro, and my beloved Under the Silver Lake by David Robert Mitchell.
I'm like,
End of Oak Street in theaters August 14th this year. Buy a ticket, get your tickets, get excited, get hyped.
Yeah, cool.
That would be a really interesting Quest episode, Tanner, if we got Under the Silver Lake.
You know I'd love it. You know I fucking love that shit, everyone.
Alrighty, well, you ready to ready with
David
scores?
Robert Mitchell vindicated with each passing day on Under the Silver Lake, I will say.
Okay, is it score time?
Oh, wait, I don't have the thing pulled up. I'm a fool.
What?
Oh my god.
I'm
I'm trying to remember
damned
what was
fool.
in Cold War. Was that black and white?
Yes.
I saw that. I remember seeing that when in 2018.
Polakowski, has had a film in competition this
Dang.
year that we might be
Oh my
talking
God!
about.
You know what's crazy about that movie? One of
What's
the
that?
few films that I saw it at the Alamo in Austin that got turned into Joe Rogan's Comedy Mothership.
Whoa, hey, how about
Okay.
that? I'm sure he's keeping the spirit of Polakowski alive there. I'm sure. No, Polakowski had a film at the Cannes Film Festival this year that we might talk about for as a Best Picture nominee, Fatherland, starring Sandra Hüller. Just wanted to shout that out there as I pulled the sheet up, and I'm ready to go.
Okay, type that ish in and let's find out. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Abram and
wait,
Abram
we're
Tanner.
three- oh, come
three of us
on,
put the
Tucker.
same number. Tucker.
Oh wait, hang on. Is he going?
Can we just do that? Can we just
We
do
all put the same number.
number?
Because it actually doesn't
No, it
change
doesn't change
the
the
average
average.
what's at all.
No.
9.5 is what we have given a Shoplifters. 9.5 is going to go way up to the top of the list. It is
Yeah,
actually
look
going to
at
go
that.
way, way, way up to the top of the
Oh
list.
my God.
Number
Parasite and
three.
Shoplifters are
No,
number
number
1 and 2.
Number two.
Parasite and Shoplifters.
Hey, how about that?
1, 2, and then Paris, Texas, Winter Sleep, I, Daniel Blake for the top 5.
God, we love poverty.
How about that?
Wow. Wow.
It's not
I
us.
mean,
The Cannes Film
the
Festival
Cannes-
loves poverty. All right.
We just need
Wow.
bicycle thieves in here. Did that win?
Ah,
We do have a Vittorio De Sica. We do not have Bicycle Thieves, but Miracle in Milan. That's him, right? I think so.
Man.
Miracle in Milan is a winner that we have
Bicycle
yet to talk
Thieves
about.
is another movie that just like is a well of tears for me. I just cry my eyes out watching that one. It's like
a
so.
fucking
Oh my God,
fantastic
someone took
movie.
his
So
bike.
good.
Oh.
Oh, and
Oh,
how
no.
how's he gonna get to work? No. Yeah.
Gotta
yeah.
put up all
Okay.
those posters.
Well, yeah, I got to put up all those posters. So, is it spin wheel time? Good job.
I think it's Spinwheel
Yeah,
time.
let's do it.
Good job on that. I don't. You guys are just gonna take my word for it. What number it pulls up because I don't really have the
Oh,
system.
fair enough.
But you ready?
I'm ready. Wheel, what's your deal? Give us a movie that makes us squeal. Is it on digital or is it on real? Wheel, what's your deal?
Okay. The wheels deal is number 16.
Number 16, early days, early-ish days, I suppose, of the Cannes Film Festival. Hey, speaking I'm just laughing at the title of this movie because of what we were just talking about, speaking of the Cannes Film Festival, loving some poverty, some films about poverty and class consciousness. I'll get to the title here in a second. This is a film from 1971, directed by Elio Petri. It hails from the country of Italia. It's a film that stars Salvo Rondone, Mariangela Melato, and Jean Maria Volonte. This is The Working Class Goes to Heaven.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Abram's got a grin on his face. You got a joke for that one, huh? Huh, buddy?
No, it's just funny because like that would win the Palme
Yeah, wouldn't
d'Or,
it?
yes.
Yeah, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it just?
I got a quick one-sentence summary here for you.
Uh-huh.
if
And when
you'd
you're done
like
with
to
that, I want to hear, Tanner, your downer scale impression. Happy,
Okay,
sad,
okay.
in the middle.
Sure. After losing a finger in a work accident,
Ow.
an Italian worker becomes increasingly involved in political and revolutionary groups.
That
I
would
don't
win
know.
the Palme d'Or, wouldn't it?
I'm looking at the cover image, the backdrop image on Letterboxd here, and it looks like he's sort of he's given what for to maybe a foreman or something while toting a gun, it seems like, or a pipe or something. So maybe we're gonna get some class warfare
Some what
happening
is to be
here.
done type stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. The we're gonna have fun discussing that. We'll watch it and come back with our thoughts next week, and that'll do it from us, I'd say. Real fun discussing this rather sad movie, but yeah, a really good one.
Yes.
Very, very enjoyable to get a movie that we all really like so much on the show here. So we shall see if this Italian film stacks up, or does it go down where like La Dolce Vita is hanging out. We will have to find that out for ourselves.
We like
If you have any
some
thoughts-
Italian films.
We like
Uh,
Italian
you,
cities?
you're not thinking La Dolce Vita is pretty high on the list. You're thinking of the birds, the bees, and the Italians.
or Padre Padrone with
That's
a
right.
Don
Or Padre
Tito.
Padrone.
What about the
Yeah.
2 cents worth of hope? 3 cents? How many cents was it? A couple cents.
2 cents worth of
2
hope.
cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
3 would be nuts.
That's
Too much hope.
Too much hope. Way too much
This is
hope.
my 3 cents.
I hope you, dear commenters, write something in the box below this video. Do you agree with us on Shoplifters? Did you cry during Shoplifters? Or are you a heartless bastard? We shall find out next time on the show. The quest for the best is stick around Backlot Banter for more fun Palme d'Or content. We're going to be talking through that winner whenever we get a chance to see it, whenever they decide to release it in the States.
Sweetly.
Well, I don't know, Tanner, any idea when they're going to do that?
Again, it's a neon
Okay.
acquisition. It'll probably be
Yeah.
October or November.
Who'da thunk that, right?
Yeah. That's when they put out Anatomy of a Fall. It's when they put out It Was Just an Accident. So
Mhm.
You think they're just gonna
When
like,
they put out Nora.
like end their shit if they don't get the Palme d'Or at some point in the
they're
future?
gonna fold the company.
Like, we're done.
for sure.
Like, what are we even doing here?
What's even the fucking point?
I know what the point of this show is, to give great movies a 9.5. So
There you
we'll
go.
be back next time talking about The Working Class Goes to Heaven. You know what I say? Stay cool, keep warm. Peace.